Hey everyone, today we are here to talk about living in Maryland. So yes, Maryland can be very cool. It's got a ton of pros, but at the same time, it's got some things that you want to be aware of. Maybe some things that some people won't like. So we are here to discuss 8 things that I put together, things that you want to be aware of, things that might make living in Maryland awesome for you. Some things that might not be a good fit for you. So we want to talk about those things. Personally, I come from a place a little different than Maryland. I grew up, born and raised in Southern California, where the weather was pretty predictable, lots of sunshine. And then Maryland is, definitely something that I had to get used to. My wife was born and raised here, Greater Baltimore girl. So we are raising our 7-month-old son here. Definitely more on the way. This is a place we're calling home. So we want to talk about that, let you know from a perspective of someone who was not born and raised here in Maryland, what it's like, some things that you want to be aware of. So let's talk about it right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we talk about all things living here in the state of Maryland. So if this is your first time to the channel and you're looking to find information, content on living here in the state of Maryland, we love making videos and helping people out about what it's like living here in Maryland. Please feel free to reach out if you ever have any questions, if you're looking to move here to the area. We love answering questions and helping people out. Feel free to reach out to us anytime. We've definitely got your back when moving here to the state of Maryland. All right, so number 8, want to start with one of the more obvious ones, which is going to be the weather. So this is something, for me was definitely an adjustment, coming from Southern California. So we get all 4 seasons here in Maryland, which I do love. Spring and fall here are amazing, right? It's more dealing with the winters and the summers that were kind of more of the adjustment for me. And seasonal affective disorder, that's real, right? So that was something that, from time to time was more difficult for me. And I know I'm not the only one out there. In Maryland, it can be very common to get a few 2, 3, 4 days straight where you just got cloudy weather, lots of rain. We get a good amount of rainfall and precipitation here in Maryland. So that's something that you just want to be aware of. That's something that is tough for you or challenging for you. Maybe Maryland might not be the best spot for you. But when it comes to winters, this is something that definitely I was not prepared for. So our first actually winter here when we moved, this was about 7 years ago or so, we got nailed with a 3.5 footer. In 1.5 days. My wife's a teacher. She had the whole week off. So it was kind of crazy. For the most part though, Maryland is pretty mild. So I would expect, snow and stuff each year, but a lot of times, like the last couple years, we really have not gotten much at all. We've gotten a couple, 1, 2 inches, and then it doesn't stay cold long enough. It doesn't stay below freezing long enough, typically here in Maryland, for that stuff to hang around a ton or very long. So, but every couple years, every few years, we definitely get, some good snow. So that's something you want to be prepared for. We really get a lot more ice here in Maryland. So we typically definitely have several snow days a year, and it's typically not from snow at all. A lot of times it's from ice, just that temperature hovering around 30 to 32 degrees, that rain starting to come down, and then it just freezes overnight. And Maryland in general is very conservative, so they're not sending the school buses out. They're not doing that kind of stuff. New Yorkers who are living in Maryland are probably like, this is crazy. We'd be going to school. What's going on? But Maryland is very conservative with that. But most of your snow days are going to be more ice related. So that's kind of our winters. Overall, though, pretty mild. Summers. So summers was the time where I was used to always being outdoors and hanging out. And it's tougher here in Maryland. The humidity is real. It's mid-July right now, and my son just got baptized. So we had some family over and hanging out, and we lasted about 2 games of cornhole before having to come inside. It was just tough. So summers can be a little bit rough too. You're looking at, especially once you get into July, August, September. I was used to more on the West Coast, those nights cooling down into the mid-high 50s and just kind of getting a break from that heat. Out here, you don't, especially as you get into mid and late summer. So on average, it's staying around 68 to 72 degrees, even at night. So that's the coolest. And then a lot of times it's getting up into the mid-high 80s and into the 90s. We've seen several of those days already, and we're only in the middle of July here. So summers can be a little brutal too, just with that humidity. It's definitely that not that dry heat, so it definitely jumps on you. And that's something that you want to be prepared for as well. All right, moving along to number 7 is going to be the bugs. So this is something that is definitely present here a lot. Mosquitoes are probably the worst. For me, they kind of stay away from me for the most part. I do get bit a little bit, but my wife, she just gets eaten alive. So it's tough for her to even really go outside a lot of times. And we've got a porch that I love to sit on and hang out more in the evening time. And during the summer, it kind of stinks. I mean, I have to choose between just kind of having a drink on my own or just kind of not going out there because she gets eaten alive. So that's something that you want to expect, you want to be prepared for. And then we have a lot of basements here in Maryland. So I will say, you know, for our home, my wife only knows about the one, but I've had to take care of 2 black snakes in our basement. So this is something that you see mice, you see some snakes from time to time. It's not super duper common, but it is something that is a reality here. In Maryland, actually, it was down in Annapolis. It was a kind of a popular store. There was a quote unquote snake house. And this is not super commonplace, but I just figured I'd bring it up, and they ended up settling at, who knows, it was an undisclosed amount, but the buyers ended up suing the sellers for like a couple $1 million. They just could not, there was just persistent and consistent, snakes in this home that they felt were not disclosed to them. So you can kind of look that up if you want to check that out. That certainly is not commonplace. You're going to see that kind of stuff here. So that's something you want to be prepared for. Other common ones, just because my wife will she'll just grab a red Dixie cup and just put it over them on the floor. Stink bugs are very common in Maryland. And then in your basement, you're going to see a ton of camel crickets. They're those little things that just kind of jump around, all over the place, and they're super common. So if you are not a bug person, Maryland is something maybe you want to reconsider, because you're definitely going to see a good amount of that stuff here in Maryland. So something you want to be prepared for. Also, I almost forgot, is our cicadas here in Maryland. Now, we actually, as of filming this video, this is middle of July 2021, we just had the 17-year cicadas that came out. They were pretty much here like the end of May all the way through June. And it was crazy. I mean, I was not here the last time. I've been here about 7 years or so. But these things, they come out of the ground. I guess they're underground for 17 years, and every 17 years they come out. They were everywhere. It was nuts. So you're driving down the Beltway, you're driving down 29, wherever, and they're just constantly smacking your windshield and stuff like that. And I didn't believe it when people were saying they were coming out. They were very loud. You hear them every year. It might be a different breed of cicada, but this 17 year, the Brood X, I believe, it was here in 2021, so it won't be here for a while. But that is something very specific to Central Maryland, because when they were here, we actually had a wedding trip to go to. We did not see them. Once we got into Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, we didn't see them at all. And we even did a trip to Deep Creek, which is Western Maryland, so just 2.5 hours away, and they weren't even there at all either. So you're really looking for those cicadas that are really in that central part of Maryland, Howard County, Anne Arundel County, parts of Baltimore. And so pretty interesting as well. All right, moving on to number 6 is, if you can't stand big city, lots of people, Maryland may not be your spot. Now, for the most part, I will say most of Maryland is suburbs. It's not city, but in Maryland, we are pretty much a dual metro area between Baltimore and then DC, really only being about 45, 50 minutes from each other. So Maryland is actually the 8th smallest state as far as, land mass. It is number 18 in the country as far as population size, over 6.1 million people just here in Maryland. And it feels bigger because it's a very small state. You got Pennsylvania just to the north. You've got Virginia, West Virginia. You're going to see a lot of people coming in here to Maryland for the work, for jobs. So that is the benefit, I guess. There's a ton of people. So if that's something that is concerning to you or something that you don't like as much, Maryland is probably going to be a challenge for you. But then the economy is so strong here because of all the people, because of the dual metro, and so many people coming here for the work and the contracting and everything that stems from all the jobs and opportunity right here at home in Maryland. So something you want to be aware of. If you're not a big city person, make sure you kind of look further into that and see if that's something you can handle here in Maryland. All right, number 5 is, if you can't stand friendly, very cool, very nice people, Maryland may not be the best fit for you. So for me, coming from greater LA, Southern California, for me, Maryland, I noticed it right away. There was a ton of friendly people, super down to earth, and that was something I loved about it. And LA, it was just kind of not that way. So I guess I'll just leave it at that. So that's something that I absolutely love about Maryland. And I'm kind of more of a Baltimore guy. Baltimore versus DC. Baltimore is a little slower. It's a little more, it's just kind of more of my vibe. And when you go into even in Baltimore City, I mean, there's just a lot of friendly people. Everybody's saying hi and very easy to talk to and stuff. So that's something I love about here in Maryland. If you are someone who doesn't like that, if you like to stay indoors, keep to yourself, maybe that won't be the best fit for you here, but that's something that I noticed right away when moving here to Maryland, and something that I absolutely love. Actually, funny, the home that we're in now, we've been here for almost 6 years now. We actually met all the other younger couples here in our area by one of our neighbors. Literally, we had never met them yet. They just knew we were new in the neighborhood. He came, knocked on the door. We ended up going over, having, kind of a fun hangout night, and meeting all the 5 or 6 other young couples in the neighborhood. And that was something that we absolutely loved, and getting to know everybody, and that the way that they did that and stuff. So that was just something in my little neighborhood that I noticed, and was a kind of a cool experience. And I have noticed that all throughout the parts of Maryland that I've been in. So something that you want to be aware of if coming here to Maryland. All right, number 4 is going to be Maryland's high overall cost of living, and then specifically home prices. So this is something, just with Maryland being so tied to DC and all the government work and the contracting work that stems from that, this is something that you just definitely want to be aware of. I know for me, when we sold our home in Southern California, I guess I was just a little ignorant, and I just assumed I'm going to be able to go somewhere else in the country and be able to get a little more for my money. And I was, definitely surprised when coming here to Maryland, where that was not really the case at all. So, but our economy here in Maryland, I mean, it's so stable. It's probably I would argue it's one of the more recession-proof areas in the country for sure. Just because of the stability and everything that comes from that with the government, and all the work and all the opportunities that come there. So, in 2008, when there was the national credit crisis and housing crisis, Maryland definitely dropped significantly less than other parts of the country in regards to housing and all that kind of stuff. So that's something that's, depending on how you look at it, can be a pro or a con. So, but as far as housing, if you are looking for a single family, your average 4-bed, 2.5, 3-bath home within Maryland, if you are looking in Montgomery County, I think the average single family is going to be around $700,000. Howard County drops down to about $650,000 or so. Anne Arundel County is about $630,000, and then Baltimore County drops to about $550,000, depending on the part, because Baltimore County is massive. But that's kind of what you can expect if you're looking here and purchasing a home. The national average right now is about $325,000 to $330,000, depending on kind of where you look at, the website you look at. So it's definitely high and expensive here, and that's something you want to be aware of if you're, depending on where you're coming from. I know when the pandemic started, I got a lot of calls from people from New York coming down, and they were pleasantly surprised at the cost of living here, specifically to housing. But people from the South, we get a lot of military coming up to Fort Meade, and a lot of them coming from the South or other parts of central United States, and it's a huge shock for them too. So just depending on where you're coming from, you're going to have those different experiences and stuff, but definitely high cost of living here that you want to be prepared for. All right, number 3, if you need or like having beaches, mountains super close by, Maryland may not be the best fit for you. So although Maryland does have a ton of great options, and it's called Little America because it's got pretty much everything, a lot of it's not always super close by. So in regards to beaches, for me, growing up in Southern California, we were pretty close, and that was a huge benefit, something that was awesome. Here, it's more of a commute. Ocean City is kind of a staple for for Maryland, and not just Maryland. You got people coming from Pennsylvania, West Virginia, where they're, so Ocean City is, from Baltimore, it's about 3-ish hours away, depending on traffic, and it is very seasonal. So people are heading out there mainly in the summertime, which means that although although without traffic, it may only be 2.5, 3 hours, it's very likely you will be dealing with traffic, and that could extend that commute time, which just makes it tougher to get out there and a longer drive. So, but Ocean City is awesome. I will say though, coming from LA beaches in Southern California, it's very touristy. That was something I was not used to. The beaches I grew up at, it was very local, very chill, not super crazy. Ocean City is nuts. I mean, there's just so many people. I mean, when you walk onto that beach, there are people everywhere, all the way up until the sand ends. I mean, it's with their tents, with their umbrellas, everything. And that's something that was kind of a shocker to me. So and as I said, it's not just Maryland. You got a lot of people coming from the surrounding states because that's kind of one of the closer areas. So they got a really cool boardwalk, a ton to do, but it is very crowded. It has that, to me, that very touristy feel. So while Ocean City is an awesome option, it is not the only one. So if you're looking for more chill, kind of not, less of that touristy vibe, I would head north to Delaware beaches. So you got Bethany, which is right on the Delaware side, because Ocean City is just south of that Delaware-Maryland line. So if you head just north to Delaware, you got Bethany, and then moving on north, you're going to see some more less touristy beaches. And then if you're willing to drive, although this is like 5.5 to 6 hours, if you're willing to go down to the Outer Banks and the Carolinas, I personally have not been there, but my wife with some friends has gone down a few times. And although the drive is longer, they definitely rave about going down to those beaches. So that's something I would check out too. So either way, you're caught with a commute and with a drive. So that's something you want to be prepared for. When it comes to mountains, I grew up going to Big Bear Lake in Southern California, just about 7,000 feet. So you're really climbing. Maryland really doesn't have, our mountains are much smaller. So that's something that, they're called mountains, but they're very small. So if you're coming from Colorado, if you're coming from parts of the West Coast, it's not going to be the same at all. Deep Creek is very cool though. So you can go there year round. It's a great lake town. So you could do, skiing in the winter, you could do boating and all that kind of stuff in the summer. We've been there several times and it's super fun. So, but that's about 2,400 feet. So it's very small. You don't really notice that mountain climb and that mountain vibe to it, but it is a great option. That's right here in Maryland. From Baltimore and Central Maryland, you're looking at about a little over 2 hours to Deep Creek. So that is something that we have. It's just not super duper close. So something to be prepared for when coming here to Maryland. All right, number 2, if you are looking for diversity, Maryland's got it. So if diversity is not your thing, if you want to stay away from that, I would definitely, Maryland may not be your spot. So this is something that I love about Maryland. There are so many different kinds of people. You have all different kinds of people from all different walks of life, not only just from within America, but you got people coming from all over the world here for the opportunity, for the jobs and all that kind of stuff. So in my line of work, being a realtor, I absolutely love it, getting to interact and meet all these different kinds of people and hear their stories about where they come from and just their perspective on life. That's something that I love. And I do get this question a lot, people coming from out of state and out of area, tell me about the diversity. That's what we're looking for, right? We're targeting that kind of stuff. All of Central Maryland is diverse. I mean, there's not really many areas I can think of that aren't. As you get into Western Maryland, as you get to the Eastern Shore, that changes. But if you are anywhere in Baltimore, if you are anywhere from Baltimore down to DC within Maryland, so that's going to be Howard County, Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County, Montgomery County, PG County. If you are anywhere in that area, which if you're coming from out of the area, more than likely that's where people are coming. It's all diverse. You're going to see all different kinds of people, backgrounds, and stuff like that. So something I love and something that is definitely present here in Maryland. So you're definitely going to see that. All right, number 1, last but not least, is going to be taxes and high taxes. So if that's something that you don't like, you like to stay away from, Maryland's probably going to be a tough move for you. For me, coming from California, there's probably only 2 other areas outside of Maryland that have higher taxes in certain regards, specifically state income tax, and that would probably be New York and California. So for me, it wasn't something I felt as much versus if I was coming from Florida, Texas, Tennessee, right? You're going to notice that. So in Maryland, state income taxes is kind of where they get you. So if you're making over $3,000 a year, which most people are going to do probably, right, you're going to be paying somewhere in the range of 4.75 to 5.75% a year to Maryland, to the state of Maryland, in the form of state income tax. And it doesn't stop there. So in addition to that, on top of that, wherever you live, whatever county you live in Maryland, you're going to pay a local county income tax, which is basically combined with your Maryland state income tax. It is where you live, not where you work. So if so that's how they do it. Now in Central Maryland, you've got Baltimore City, Howard County, Montgomery County, and PG County at the top end of that local county income tax, which is 3.2%, in addition to whatever you're paying directly to the state. So that's something that you definitely want to be aware of. So most people are going to be paying somewhere in the 8 to 9% range, depending on where your taxable income comes in at. So it's pretty high, and it's something that it's a hard check to write every year. But it just is what it is. It's not something we can change, right? But definitely something you want to be aware of. Maryland also has a flat 6% state income tax, so it doesn't change depending on what county you're in, what area you're in. That's something that's across the board here in Maryland. And then also you've got your property taxes. So actually in Maryland they're not too bad, but the thing is that our values are typically so high because of our cost of living and the home values that they could appear high depending on kind of what your perspective is. So definitely people coming from Chicago, New York, and stuff like that, they're shocked when they come down here and they see that's it. That's not like per month. That's not like semi-annual. Like, no, that's per year. So in Maryland, if you basically use on retail or resale value 1.25% is going to give you a good rough estimate of what your property taxes are going to run. So for example, on a $500,000 home here in the state of Maryland, you can expect your taxes to be roughly $6,200 to $6,500 per year. So although it's not a terribly high percent, like if you go to Texas, in Tennessee, although they don't have state income tax, if you talk to those people and ask them what they're paying on their property taxes, it could be 2 to 3%. So it's significantly higher there. And specifically to property taxes. Now they're still probably making out because they're not paying any state income tax, but just to give you kind of some reference as far as property taxes compared to some other areas with lower cost of living at least. And that's kind of, how it goes here in Maryland. So not a huge rate, but definitely something that depending on the value of the home that you're looking at or that you own, that's kind of what the property taxes are going to look like. So if you don't like paying the man, then that's something maybe you want to reconsider Maryland, because you are going to have your fair share of taxes here in the state of Maryland. All right, everyone, thanks so much for watching. If you ever have any questions, need anything at all, please feel free to reach out, and we will see you at the next video.